everyone, and welcome to week 2 of blogging. I hope you guys learned a lot in the live lesson last Thursday, and I really enjoyed interacting with everybody on the forums throughout the week. As a tip, be sure to check in daily and read your fellow students' questions and comments. I've made a lot of friends in my previous Media Bistro classes that I've taken as a student, and I still interact online with lots of my former students as well. This is networking at its finest. Be sure to take advantage of it. Now, on to the meat of today's class. Hopefully by now you've chosen your platform. WordPress and Tumblr are the two that I'd recommend, but if you're using Blogger or Squarespace or something else, that's fine too. Today we'll run through more technical detail about what you need to do to get set up and running. If you're already blogging, see if any of the tips can be retroactively applied to your blog too. First things first, you'll want to register for a custom domain, one that isn't yourname.wordpress.com or yourname.tumblr.com, but simply yourname.com. Why? First, it's a much more professional look and feel. Next, it's easier for your friends, family, clients, and businesses to remember you by. In WordPress, you can do this just by registering a new blog and selecting the .com option. It's $18 per year. Upgrade to Premium if you'd like, which for $99 per year gets you that custom domain, email support, and extra storage. Extra storage is particularly useful if you plan to post a lot of images. Premium themes, usually available at an extra charge, are unlimited in the business option for $299 per year, but that's not really necessary unless you anticipate a lot of tech changes or are really into changing your design aspects frequently. This option also includes e-commerce, so it's good for potential business owners as well. You can also register a custom domain in Tumblr, but it's going to require a little bit of an extra step. You'll need to buy the domain on your own from a site like GoDaddy and then sync it to your Tumblr blog. You can certainly buy a domain in GoDaddy and sync it to your WordPress blog as well, but WordPress makes it easier to do that right in the platform. It's not hard, and I've included the links to how to do all these things in the slideshow. Anytime you see blue underlined text throughout these slideshows, know that you can click in the slides and actually access external URL links. You'll also hear all sorts of technical terms when you read these slideshows, like a record and DNS server, but if you just follow the instructions step by step, it's pretty easy. And if you're having trouble, contact me on the forums and I'll be happy to walk you through it. My next suggestion is to register your domain as an email address as well. I usually do this through Google Apps for Business. It's about $5 per month. It makes it really easy to have your name at yourdomain.com, and it also gives your blog a dedicated email address for all those reader comments and questions that you anticipate getting, as well as awesome business requests for things like advertising. For those of you who hope to use your blog as a portfolio of website for freelance work, this also gives you a nice professional space to store all that work stuff, plus access to a calendar, Google Documents for storing posts, and more. Having a Google Apps email address is absolutely not a requirement. It's just a nice to have. And as somebody who likes to keep her personal life and her professional life separate, I much prefer that professional contacts email me on my Google Apps email, which happens to be mclean@mcleanrobbins.com if anybody needs to reach me, versus my more personal Gmail address, which I reserve for friends and family. At this point, you also want to register for your social media handles. If you haven't done so already, it's best to claim your name across all digital spaces, even if you're not planning to use that name right away. That way, nobody can take your ideas. It's also pretty easy to register for a single profile on each account. We'll spend more time on social media in week 4, but if you already have profiles for your current personal use, you might want to consider how you plan to adapt those personal pages for your blog, if you plan to do so. We can discuss any questions that you might have over the next few weeks. If you're a total social media newbie or know that you want to create social handles just for use with your new blog or business, go ahead and register for them now. And of course, feel free to check in with me on the forums about different ways that you'd like to use social media to complement your blog. Next, we'll talk about choosing a theme. I'm not going to spend too much time in this class on blog design, but getting your blog to look and feel the way you want it to is really a critical step in the creation of your blog. People are attracted to pretty things, so consider your blog's design the equivalent of putting on makeup and doing your hair before you go out. Sorry for the guys out there, I guess it's the equivalent of putting on a nice outfit instead of a t-shirt and jeans. Your blog's design is your virtual home exterior. Do you want to be flashy, minimalist, or avant-garde? Do you want to have big pictures in all of your blog posts, or do you want something to showcase a lot of text? A simple layout with 2 columns is usually a pretty popular approach, but it's not mandatory. Some people go with 3 columns, some people use a single column layout, and some people like to have lots and lots of space for images. Some blogs have a header image that requires a bit of graphic design finesse, usually a fun text treatment of your blog's name and logo. I use the site Canva, canva.com, to make most of my own graphics. You don't need much graphic design skill, and you can make almost anything you want, including Facebook headers, Twitter headers, and nice pretty graphics for your blog for less than $5 a piece. Before you commit to a design, I'd add the following information to that style guide you started in the last lecture. Pick 1 or 2 fonts, usually a main heading font and an accent font. Any more than that, and you're just going to look disorganized. Pick a color scheme. The same goes for 1 or 2 colors. I usually pick 1 main color and 2 or 3 secondary colors, otherwise your blog might start to look like a rainbow. Are you going to use images? How many images are you going to use in each post? What size are these images going to be? If you size your images at 800 pixels wide, generally you're going to get a nice large image for most sites. 500 pixels wide, if you have a more 2 or 3 column layout, might work as well. And remember that it's important to think about including an image in each of your posts, as these images are going to get more social shares and are just generally better for engagement, but you don't have to have them for each post. I would incorporate consistent image sizing so that your blog, when someone scrolls down from image to image, looks nice and tight and on brand. You can go to the trouble of mood boarding out your blog, which are the examples that I have on the screen, but you certainly don't have to. Most of these would have been done by a professional designer, and there's absolutely no need to use a professional designer for this particular class unless you really want to or you're planning on making a real business out of your blog. Now you're probably wondering, how the heck do I do this myself if I'm not a professional designer? Here are some of my favorite themes for Tumblr and WordPress. Some of them are free and some of them are a nominal amount of money. They're very, very easy to incorporate on your own into your blog's design, and they offer you lots of fun, super easy ways to customize. You don't have to be a crazy good designer, even though you can certainly pay one. A basic knowledge of HTML helps, but it's not essential. These themes that I've suggested are super easy to customize, and they let you integrate a number of external plugins. But really, don't stress. We're here mostly to write and create great content, so let's move on. Let's talk for a minute about key pages. You may be saying, pages? What is this thing called pages? Aren't pages for websites and posts for blogs? Well, that's true, but perhaps I should back up just a little bit. Did you know that all blogs are websites, but not all websites are blogs? A blog is a type of website, just like tacos are a type of Mexican food. That said, many of today's websites incorporate blogs to help tell their story, as blogs have a regular place for businesses and individuals to publish their content. For the purposes of this class, I'm going to use terms like blog and website interchangeably. You can use your blog for many things. You can use it to publish content on a given subject, to sell a product, to house your portfolio for editors, or as an online diary. Chances are, however, that your blog will need a few pieces of sticky content, which we're calling pages, and these pages are going to be permanent, or at least permanent until you change them. Posts, by nature, show in reverse chronological order, with the newest posts on top and the oldest on the bottom. These can be sorted and searched, but you'll want to create static pages about your website with some key information about your blog, your business, and yourself. We'll take a look at the example on the screen. This is Cupcakes and Cashmere, perhaps one of the most popular lifestyle blogs in the space. Where it says age expectations across the top, that's an example of a post. As you can tell, it was posted just 1 hour ago. The post below it would have been posted the day before or earlier in the day. I can interact with these posts when I see them in my feed or when I sort them from page-like category things that she's given us across the top. So she has pages for all of her posts or previous posts on fashion, food, beauty, decor, DIY, and even her regular series. But a permanent page on this homepage is where it says C&C at the top, and that C&C gives a little bit more information about what Cupcakes and Cashmere is. It's an About Us page. I would say that key pages on your blog could include that About Us page, or even an About the Writer section if there's multiple writers on a single blog. It could include an editorial and ad policy. It could include your contact information. Think about what key pages you want to include your design, and make sure to write these pages when you're doing your initial design work. I'd recommend spending a little bit of time here. After all, these pages are going to have a permanent place of honor on your website, and chances are may be among the more visited pages that people see on a regular basis. Next, we'll talk about analytics. I know, this is a class about writing, and all we've done is talk about analytics and design today. But I promise we're getting to the part about writing. That said, most of today's best writing is done when you, the blogger, know all about how your users are accessing your site, what's resonating with your users, and how users are sharing your content. In order to do so, I would suggest that the very first thing you do after creating your blog is register for a Google Analytics account and apply that code to your blog. In the slides, you'll find a tutorial on what Google Analytics is and instructions on how to apply these codes to both Tumblr and WordPress blogs. Do this as soon as possible so that you can start generating information about what users are finding most useful on your blog. We'll talk more next week about how you can use this analytics data from Google as well as data from your social channels to help drive your editorial strategy.